Hey there, guys. Are you a new writer? If you are, stay tuned. Let's talk about the experience of starting out as a very fresh writer. So, if you guys don't know me, I'm Flora-Lani Fletcher. I read, I write, I love a book. I love to write a book, I love to read a book. And this is my experience with starting reading, plus some maybe helpful tips that might help you if you're thinking of getting started. So I really started writing. I've been reading forever. Writing at the beginning of this past year in like the summertime. So like July, August-ish, I really started to re-nurture my love of writing again, because kind of on and off I've dabbled in writing, and then after a certain word count I'd be like, I don't know where this story is going. I am flipping done. And then I would stop. But this year has been different. I actually successfully wrote 100,000 words in the first half of the year. And then recently I took another gander at my word counts, from all of my projects, and I have a word count of over 200,000 words. And I just have some thoughts on maybe how I got here, because I shocked myself. I was like, what the actual, how did I do that? I'm a super busy person. I'm a mom. I'm also a full-time work person. So I don't know how in the world I did this until I kind of looked at it and I broke it down. So basically for me, I would always get so frustrated when I would get to a certain point when I would write in the past, where every idea I had didn't quite fit together, and I was like, what the actual heck? So I took these couple bits of writing advice, and I persevered. So first one was actually Stephen King advice that from his book. I think it's called On Writing, where he says, whatever word you would use, if it fits, do it. And so for my rough drafts, that is what I would do. I would literally use whatever word popped into my head, and I wouldn't think twice about it. The second piece of writing that has been very helpful is to not stress about a word count and just kind of see where the story takes you. I tend to kind of be between something called discovery writing, which is where you do not outline your plot at all, and you're like, what happens, happens. And outlined, plotting writing, where every single detail is decided ahead of time. I cannot do that. So I kind of am somewhere in between, where I write a very loose outline of things I need to happen in the story, and then I write kind of discovery style until I hit every single one of those bullet points. And for me, that works because I do need a little bit of structure, but I freaking hate overly dense structure and requirements. It drives me crazy. So I kind of found my niche within those two categories, where I found a way to make sure my story hit all the marks I needed it to, but also gave me the freedom to explore. Because I think that's kind of the joy of writing, is exploring and learning these characters, and they take on this whole life of their own, which I was not ready for when I started doing this experiment, where I would just kind of write whatever came to mind. But here's another thing. So when it comes to character development, I think that's where a lot of people get stressed, because they're like, how do I make sure all of my characters don't sound the same, don't look the same, don't read the same? And for me, I use a little thing I've nicknamed the triad. So for a positive character, like a protagonist, or maybe part of the protagonist's team, I use a positive triad. So a triad has 3 points, right? So 2 of the points are positive attributes that my character has, and 1 point is a negative attribute, because no matter what, everyone's going to have a flaw, at least one, if not a bajillion. So I use a positive triad for my my protagonist characters. For my villains, I give them a negative triad, where they have 2 bad traits and 1 good trait. Because again, villains are still people, usually, at the end of the day, unless you're writing a sci-fi alien situation, or a magical. Anyway, so negative triad, 2 bad attributes, 1 good one. And so I use that little base level of 3 attributes to kind of start to explore my characters, and then they usually take on their own life as they go. And that is for me, hi baby, my dog is over here, but then they take on their own life, and it's weird, because now I kind of challenge myself, and I throw my characters into random scenarios that don't happen in the book, and I'm like, how would they react? And they have taken on enough of their own personality that they make choices for themselves, and they take the plot in directions I had never thought was possible. And so I was like, hold on. Like, I made you, but now you're making all of these choices that I did not expect you to make. But hey, it fleshes the story out, so why not embrace it, you know? So if you're worried about character development, and that works for you, coming up with an attribute triad, I also kind of, y'all, I'm a little chaotic with with how I make a character. I'll be so real. I take a list of attributes and I assign each attribute a number, and then I take dice because I'm an RPGer also. I take dice, and if I can't figure out a specific attribute for a character, I roll and I figure out like whatever number is associated with that attribute is what I use for them. So like I've come up with some really interesting triads before where like, because I have a positive list and a negative list. So I can use a number generator and just, you know, anyway, I'm getting distracted. But for me, that was really helpful because sometimes it's hard for me to like come up with combinations of traits that are like not already used, I feel like, because I like to try to make my characters very like weird, like their traits don't seem like they would work together, but somehow they do. But yeah, so that's been really helpful for me. Now, if you have like a neutral character, like a truly gray character, I just add a little, I turn it into a square. I take it away from being a triad and I add 2 negative, 2 positive traits. And it's funny because like as you write, your main characters usually develop well beyond that initial triad, and you have like 5 or 6 traits. Like maybe they're impulsive, which is not great, and they're crass, and they're callous, but they're also really loyal and driven and passionate. You know, I just enjoy that process. I enjoy seeing my characters grow and develop into their own people. Oh my gosh, I'm almost at 10 minutes and I've been rambling. So I am so sorry if you are someone who's like, wow, she's rambling. Yes, I ramble. I'm a rambler. I'm like a class A rambler, guys. But I hope that some of this has helped you. If you would like another video on how I world build, because world building is my passion. Oh, I love world building. Or how to name places. Let me know, because I've been thinking about potentially doing a video on how to flesh out your world and make it feel really lived in and find those tiny details that like really give it its own pizzazz. But anyway, guys, full disclosure, am working on publishing my first book. I am not there yet, but I have found my flow as far as creating story and world and characters. But I will keep you guys updated if my first draft does eventually get published. I'm trying the trad route, but if that doesn't work, maybe I'll self-publish. You know, I'm not picky. I'm kind of exploring as I go. But if you guys want to explore with me, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment. I would love to engage with you. So again, Flora-Lani Fletcher, see you guys. Have a great day. Bye.